welcome again to Getting to the Top, where we talk to transformational leaders about their leadership journey. And we look at how they got to the top of their industry or the top of their company, and in hopes of inspiring you to follow a similar path, and at least to outline for you what we sometimes think of as impossible is in fact not. So with me today is a friend and somebody I just adore, who inspires me with her work, Alex Jordan. And I know I'm going to ask Alex to introduce herself, but she is an incredible cricket journalist. She's a producer and a presenter on SportsMaxTV. She's been at different record labels. She's a diplomat. You know, if you watch the Olympics, you would have seen her. She is an absolute phenomenon and a phenomenal runner, golfer, you name it, she's good at it. She taught me how to play backgammon. Oh. And just a phenomenal woman. And so I'm going to ask Alex to introduce herself, and then we're going to get into the questions as to how she became this incredible woman.
Oh, thank you, Racquel. Gosh, you make me blush. It's interesting, though, now that you say that, reading from my bio, super confusing, right? Because I am many things. In fact, now I call myself a broadcast journalist. I'm a journalist. I'm particularly, obviously, a sports journalist and into cricket and aspiring cricket commentator. But I think the sort of background could be journalist, and I have been a diplomat, and I have worked in music. So I would like to say I'm many things, but a communicator and a journalist is really the main one.
Fabulous, fabulous. So tell us a little bit about how you got here, because I think that's the main point of the conversation that we have, is that how do we get these people who transcend what people normally expect and somehow get to the head of industries or get to the head of where people wouldn't normally expect to see them. And right. we will move into why diversity is so important in that space. But tell us a little bit about your journey. How did you get here?
Well, when I talk about this story, I always start with my 24th birthday. Because my 24th birthday, I remember waking up, I was back in Barbados after having gone to college and university away. I got a degree in essentially third world politics and modern languages, because I'm a linguist. I'm actually not a linguist. All the linguists out there are going to be like, you're not a linguist. I'm not trained in linguistics, but I speak 5 languages. So I like language, let's say. So I was working for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Barbados. I turned 24, woke up like misty-eyed. I remember feeling really sad. And I was staying in my parents' house at that time too, after university. And they were like, well, why are you so sad or down? And I said to my mother, Mom, can I confide in you? I can't do this for the next 30 years of my life, because I was obviously working in a civil service environment, fresh out of university, so full of energy. And people were crawling in there or whatever, reading the newspaper, going to lunch. And I was like, okay, this is not a real place. So I actually decided I would take myself off to Europe. I sold my car. I quit my job that day. Sold my car.
Decisive.
Yeah. And I backpacked across Europe for 3 months on my own. And I moved to London to try to make a living for myself, as at that time, I wanted to be a TV presenter. I don't want to date myself too much, but of course, reality TV was like becoming a thing then. And I was like, this is my field, this is what I'm going to do. Anyway, it took many hard years of slog in London, working, in bars and taking night buses, etc. And I still wasn't getting any real work. And I kind of got a break for myself in one Notting Hill Carnival. I just went on the road on my own, and I ran into Peter C. from Ecstatic Family. He was there with a new TV station called Synergy. Yes. And they were making a carnival, a sort of documentary on Notting Hill Carnival. And I was like, I literally took the microphone from Peter C. like, is that right? Well, welcome to London. My name is Alex Jordan. Let me show you around. Anyway, my nonsense made some final clips on Synergy.
Wonderful.
And 1 year later, a producer from the BBC saw that in Trinidad and told someone, she lives in London, can you find her to front our soca music show on the BBC? I mean, I wasn't even a DJ then, really. I was like into music, but if you want me to mix soca music, I can learn that. So I on CDJs, and of course became a broadcaster on the BBC. That was my big break. They sent me to the Football World Cup in Germany. I got such incredible experiences through Radio 1 and Radio 1 Extra on BBC. So I'd have to say that's really where it began. But even that wasn't full time. And I was still working by this time I'd gotten a job in a record company, which was great too for contacts, turns out. And, working in music, literally writing label copy, learning how to make a track. I worked in A&R. So we signed artists, put them together with producers, created albums. And then it was also a Universal Music. So it was a big deal. We put out 50 Cent, we put out Eminem for the rest of the world, Europe and the rest of the world. So I had a pretty good day job, but it wasn't about me, right? My company was the, and then I got this thing on the BBC. And that was going pretty well, but still I could not find my voice. I really couldn't find my voice. They loved me. And they were like, yeah, you're a good broadcaster. Do you want to try mainstream? You want to try Radio 1 daytime? And I was like, I've made it. And I sucked. And the producer, or the big wig, I remember she called me into her office and was like, well, I think you've got a wonderful voice, but I don't think you know what your voice is. And I was like, oof. And the truth is, in retrospect, yes, this was, before. This was like a little bit, half a generation before. It was cool to have accents. It was cool to be different. And so I think I was trying to conform to some idea of what I want, as opposed to just being myself. Anyway, at that moment, I was like, you see this country here, this country don't know me and recognize me and love me. I need to go home to my people. And I went to Barbados, and I was approached by a man called Habib Elias, who wanted to start a new radio station called Slam 101, banging the hits. He came to me and said, I don't know you, but everybody tells me you are the best and BBC trained. Could you do the morning show? And I think that job, I opened the station, did the morning show for 5 years on Slam 101.1 in Barbados. That job was the making of me, because guess what? Quite literally, I could speak in my own voice. So I bang any hits, music, I'm all comfortable there. And then I got 2 call slots. One called, I made them up. One called No But Seriously. And then another one we inherited, actually, called What Drives You Crazy. And we became a phenomenon. And I would like to say we really changed the timbre of radio in my country. That made me a big deal here. Up to this day, it is the most satisfying job, enriching job I've ever had.
Nice.
And then from the radio, I got a phone call from SportsMax in Jamaica, who said, hey, listen, you want to come do some sports TV? And I said, hi, I don't do sports or TV, right? They were like, yeah, no, but you could. Because, you mentioned, Racquel, that I love sports. And I actually played squash is my first sport. I played squash for Barbados. And I'm a keen golfer. I was a swimmer. I love to run. So they knew I was a Barbados national in a sport and figured she can talk about anything. Went to SportsMax, and boy, that was my even bigger break, because I got all this experience working in live TV. And then the CPL, Caribbean Premier League, took me from SportsMax after a few years. And then from then, the world has taken me. ICC, International Cricket Council. I've been the last 4 or 5 events I have done have been ICC events. So how did I get there? I don't know. Years of hard work and luck, and also daring.
Yeah.
A lot of, because when I think back to that first break, that came because I was on the road for Carnival, and I was like, you're doing what? You're doing what? I do those kind of things, excuse me a second there. I remember Peter C looking at me like, why is she trying to pick my work? But I actually go back to that moment as to when my career really started.
I love that. I love that. So you were daring, you were willing to take a chance, you were, needing to lean into your own voice. You were, what did your parents think when you hauled off to London, and, what were they saying at that point?
Sometimes I think I should preface this story by the fact that it is clearly a position of privilege to be able to say, I'm going to give up this job here and go and seek a fortune elsewhere, because you have an idea that this is not your be all and end all. Yeah. So my parents are wonderful and extraordinary people, and they were entirely supportive of whatever I wanted to do. So if they had any worries about me going off to backpack across Europe and give up the job, they didn't tell me.
Wow.
Yeah, they were just like, all right, because my mother's from Australia, huh? So I think we have a bit of a walkabout culture in us anyway. Go off and seek your fortune. Dad had spent many years in Edinburgh studying and had done a lot of global travel as well. So we weren't a family that shied away from travel. I think that they must have in the back of their mind thought that, the TV thing was a bit of a pipe dream, but I showed them.
Fabulous. Yes, it's a funny story. Like J-Lo's parents, she was a paralegal, and they're like, "Dance, you're crazy." So
yeah, definitely. My parents are super liberal and super loving, and anything I wanted to do, they would have supported me. It was more my sister and brother who were a bit like, are you okay there? I remember when I left SportsMax and I decided to leave, I resigned, sent a message to the family group, and I was like, "Hey guys, I'm leaving SportsMax." And I remember my sister side messaged me and said, "Do you have a job lined up?" And I obviously, when it's your sister, it's like, I remember taking a deep breath and sending one reply, which is that I don't have a job, Claire, I have a career.
Nice. Oh, that is such a great, that's such a great sort of thought, to just not limit yourself to this job. And I think that's something that so many women get into, where you're like, yeah, I did this job.
It was over, right? I didn't have to depend on somebody to think I am good enough, that the world is going to come and seek me out. And that they did.
Oh my gosh, I'm good enough. That is, listen, new mantra. So, and I'm willing to sort of listen to your gut, in that process, and understand that it's a career and it's going to ebb and flow and it's going to shift and move.
Yeah,
fabulous. That's right. But
yeah.
You are in an industry that is probably one of the last sort of bastions of male domination, not at all, sadly not one of the last bastions, but certainly is likely to be the last bastion of male domination. And here you are, not just surviving, but thriving. Hello, Kitty. Thriving in this environment. And, how are you, what is that like? And, goes from what is it like to be in an industry where you're often the only woman in the room, or often one of very, very few, almost always a minority in the room in terms of gender or sometimes race. What is that like? And then what is it like behind the scenes where, I am different, I am breaking ceilings, I am, conquering new territory? What is that like?
Gosh, so many questions. I think that when people ask me what's it like being a woman working in the sports industry, I say it's like being a woman. Thought, right? Because there are all those challenges for us every day, not just in our work. Yeah, I think I should start by saying that I sometimes forget, I don't perceive myself exactly how I look, right? I identify as a sort of a Black West Indian woman. And every time sometimes when I look in the mirror, I'm like, oh shoot, you're really red. You're extremely, I don't have a good idea of how people perceive me. So when I'm in that room with all the guys, I'm not thinking, gosh, you're the only woman, until it comes up. And often it comes up because you're at a road, and obviously guys are like, hello, good evening, what's going on? What are you doing later? I think that the crucial thing is that you are just yourself. And I try not to talk too much race and gender. Sometimes we get into politics. This last CPL, yay, we had Fazir Mohammed in the commentary team. So I knew that on the bus rides to and from, I could engage Fazir in some good, dynamic political talk about race and class and gender. But to be fair to cricket, and I will say this, and the ICC, their politics is so right on that in an environment that is so positive and protective of that I don't, no one would dream of telling you what to wear, or, you don't have on enough makeup, or which happened to me before.
Really?
In life. Yes. So I think, our part of the world is still catching up in terms of gender. I think it is very easy to talk, and say, look, we've hired more women. But, if you're in an environment where sexual harassment is a consistent thing. And by harassment, I mean, you are made to feel like you have to play off your sexuality. However, I have been very lucky and blessed to have gotten this particular track where I work with bright, worldly, intelligent people who understand that, I'm bringing a different value. I also think because I am not a former cricketer, right? I don't come in there as like, I come in full of humility and always asking questions and always being like, well, then what would happen there? And what would you say? And how does one say this? I don't feel like threatening anybody because, oh yeah, she's coming like a beginner, which is where she should be. Right. I don't know what to say other than that. I have been in some impossible situations in my life, Racquel, in places I've worked in media, where, the rage in me, I see it happening around me, and it's distressing. And beyond everything, it's really bad for business, beyond all the moral dimensions.
Yeah. So how does this sort of translate into the need for diversity in those rooms? And I mean, just that perspective of coming in with humility and being able to ask the questions to understand not just the nuance, but kind of get a 360 view, because you're coming in fresh on this. I've never played cricket professionally. So, this is, I want to know this and I want to understand that. And I think that's what makes you so intriguing to watch, because you are completely like wide-eyed in your approach.
Yeah, that's right.
But incredibly knowledgeable, incredibly well-researched, absolutely without question. No one can watch you and say, not a cricket fan, sorry. No, not, not coming in like, I don't absolutely love this. So tell me about what you've seen in the need for diversity in some of these rooms.
I think it's just obvious. We're talking about diversity now like it's some brand new buzzword, right? If you have a problem to solve and you have 6 people around a table and they're all 6 white men, you're going to get some similar solutions.
Yeah.
If it's one white man, one young black woman, an Indian guy out of, Mumbai, you got someone from, you're going to have a much more informed discussion. That just seems obvious to me. Diversity in nature, in the rainforest. A monoculture kills a field, kills an environment. May we take a step out of nature? I mean, it seems to me obvious. And I remember my mother is a white Australian. She married my father, Black Barbadian, in 1969. And she had to go and tell her parents in Australia. And it was quite a big moment in her life. And she said, she was just full of anxiety. She was traveling over Kabul, overland trip back to Australia at the time. And she said her sister met her and was like trying to make her feel better about life. And her sister said, so this would have been 69. Her sister said, well, if it makes you feel better, I've just read some new science that said children born to people of very different genetic pools are stronger. And hybrid vigor, right? It's a concept even when you're raising cows. We know that diversity improves a product. That is a given. So when you have a boardroom that is full of men who all look the same, you're not going to get the same quality of thing you're making. You might get a supremely sports type, wonderful sports broadcast, but you're going to miss aesthetic. You're going to miss managing personalities. You're going to miss things that other people could bring. You need more people in the room. And again, I go to the ICC. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
You track of the number of nationalities inside the ICC, including a Bajan and Adrian Griffith. Want to big him up because whenever I would see him, oh, he's Barbadian.
You guys are taking over the world, by the way, huh? You
Pardon?
guys are absolutely taking over the world. Your prime minister, all the way down. I'm you can't shake a stick.
And Rihanna?
Yeah, no, you cannot shake a stick and not hear about some prominent Bajan somewhere. And I'm like, like hearing about all of these people that I didn't even know were like famous Barbadians. It's insane.
We're doing pretty well. It must have been becoming a republic. We should have taken y'all's lead a long time. Anyway, the other thing I wanted to say, so yes, diversity matters. And I have felt personally the difference between working in a place that is culturally and gender diverse and one that is not. Right. And there is no comparison. in terms of awareness, sensitivity, and productivity.
Yes.
You don't have to beat me to work. I love to work. Just make my environment livable.
Yeah.
Anyway, the next thing I want to say was about humility. You know, it's funny. People comment all the time, oh, you're so down to earth. You're so humble, which seems like a nonsense to me because I always think, why wouldn't I be?
Right.
I feel, honestly, Racquel, that I am still when I first left university and went off to use my languages and Ministry of Foreign Affairs, until now, I feel like I'm not a specialist in anything. I'm a real 21st century girl where I have interest and passion in lots of things. So I come into TV, forget cricket, TV alone, a bit like, how you do this? I mean, I was so comfortable in radio. You know, I have my voice and I had that beautiful morning show in Barbados and people loved me and I loved them. And it was so comfortable. Sometimes I'd go in my nightgown and I'd be like, yeah, so we all doing it. You know, because you can just be yourself. This is before we were filming inside again. This is before social media had become such a thing. Anyway, so when I went to TV, I was like, this is nice. I was terrible. I don't know if anybody would have watched my first few months on Sports 5. I was awful. It was the first time I was doing it live TV about sports right there. And I remember thinking, I just was worried about how I looked all the time. And that meant I couldn't think clearly.
Right.
Anyway, so much less TV now. I come into a game like cricket. Girl, you know, this thing goes beyond the boundary. So beyond the rules and the norms and the history and the social history of cricket, well, this sport defines my people and is the only thing we do together as a group. So I don't know what the other alternative is to humility. You know, I don't know enough to walk in like I'm swaggy. And I was just thinking today, will I ever get to a stage where I'm like, yeah, okay, I am the shit now? I don't think so. I love Ian Bishop, good Trini. He is considered one of the best if not the best cricket commentator in the world. And you will hear Ian Bishop say things like, well, you might know better than me, Alex. What do you, I might know better than you. So if Ian Bishop has humility in his role as a cricket commentator, well, who is me and who is anybody else?
Right.
You know, the thing is, thank God it's inborn in me. Like, you know, I'm too much of a perfectionist to think that I'm good at anything. In fact, I have to work on some self-congratulations. I love the stuff I did at the Olympics, for example. Anyone who's not seen that, check me out on Instagram.
Yeah, no, I thought it was fabulous, fabulous.
But there's many things like, you know, I'll go to a gig and I'll come home and I'll tell my friends I'll never work in this town again because I feel like I wasn't good, you know, because I made this mistake and made that mistake and then this happened. But I think that's what keeps me humble is that, my God, I just started. I can't wait to get good.
Oh, wow. No, well, the lesson for me is the minute I sort of forget my humility, I fall flat on my face. So yeah. I don't know how it works for anybody else, but trust me when I tell you, the universe does not wait to tell me, oh no, get over yourself.
Oh, forget that. What is it? You just prepared? Forget all of that. Just talk to me, for example.
Yes, precisely. Precisely. Oh my gosh. Yes, the universe is like, no, get over it. Yeah. But I know that we're nearing the end of time. I'm so delighted to hear your story. What would you say to someone else looking to pursue a career in sport? A woman pursue a career in sport?
Okay, gosh, lots of things. First of all, play sports. Play sports. You know, I think in the introduction of women into sports at first was a real Dolly Bird thing. Hot women, sideline, right? And that's just not the case anymore. It's former athletes. I'm very lucky to get included on these gigs because they want former athletes. They want real people who've been in there. So play sports, enjoy sports, and follow sports. And I don't mean just cricket. And I don't mean just cricket and football. You should have an idea about the gambit of sports, who watches them, the main teams, some of the history, because you never know when you're going to get your break, you know? Yeah. I'm holding out for golf after cricket, you know? When I'm slowing down, I'm like, I can do the whisper. I need to love that sport. So my advice would be all of those things. And in terms of core advice, you have to stay fit.
Yeah.
if you don't stay fit, you don't stay confident. And
And
confidence
I think that's beyond wanting a career in this field. I think that's for any woman.
That's for
Stay
life.
fit, take care of yourself, take care of your health. I mean,
Yeah.
school is such an opportunity to kind of renew your spirit every day.
It is. And so many women don't play sport for whatever reason. And I think to myself, how do they get their reset? Because it's literally like a reset, right? It's chemical. It's scientific. It's not just a word of mouth. So that's really important. And, you know, if you want to be in media too, self-confidence and self-belief. If I could give myself any advice back when I was beginning at 24, when I was setting off on my voyage to go and make my name in the world, I would have reiterated myself the importance of routine and fit. When the body is fit, the mind is fit, and the spirit can soar. And Racquel, I genuinely believe that 75% of the work I get is because of my spirit. It's not really a lot of my technical know-how, my ability. I think I get on well with my co-workers. I think I do well in a group, and I give it my all. I'm full of enthusiasm.
And one of the most fun people to hang out with. Absolutely. I'll challenge anybody who says different. Oh yes, and you taught me yoga, bowstring yoga. My goodness, and I said you were somebody who knew a bit of everything, and you were good at everything you tried. Yeah, I forgot DJ and linguist. You see, so. But thank you so much for spending this time with us. Thank you so much for continuing to inspire. Thank you so much.
Considering me a leader of something. I remember thinking the whole time today, like, I'm not a leader at all. I'm not a leader. I think if anything, I've led myself. I've been the leader of me.
That's the most important. That is the most important person to lead. But you are blazing a trail globally for women, for Caribbean people, and we appreciate that. And we see you. We see you, and we are proud of you.
I'm proud of you too. Look at you. Amazing international businesswoman. Thank you so much. And I hope what I said was of some value.
That was incredibly valuable and meaningful. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. And thank you for listening. Please subscribe.
Bye.
Bye.